How can I score high on the TOEFL test? The first and the most important tip is you need to know many academic words. If you have a large vocabulary, you're halfway to achieving a stellar TOEFL score. Now, if your vocabulary is limited, no matter how many strategies you learn, you'll still end up scoring 22 to 23 points on each section of the test. So in this video, we're going to talk about important words and phrases that will help you pass the test with flying colors. We'll start with the essential words that you'll often see in each section. Then discuss the most common advanced words you should know. Do a vocabulary test to check how ready you are to take the TOEFL. And finally, talk about key linking words for the speaking and writing sections. So, by the end of this video, you'll be fully equipped with all the vocabulary you need to succeed on the exam. You can then take a few practice tests. Feel free to watch these two videos for that. And see all these words we've learned repeated over and over again. Also, don't forget to let me know how many words from this class you already knew and which ones were unfamiliar. If your TOEFL test is coming up and you want to get feedback on your essays and speaking responses, click on the link below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get more tips and tricks about the test and click the bell icon to be notified when the next video comes out. Without further ado, let's get started. One of the reasons so many students fail the TOEFL is because their vocabulary isn't good enough. You need to have a wide range of lexes to succeed in every section of the test. In fact, if you're aiming for 100 plus, you should be well acquainted with advanced vocabulary. These are the complex, tricky words that many students are so afraid of. Think about it. You're doing the reading section, and then you get a question like this, and your brain gets all busy and stressed out trying to figure out what the right answer might be. By the way, if you think you know the answer to this question, let me know in the comments below. The correct answer is at the end of the video. Advanced vocabulary is not only important for TOEFL reading, you'll also hear such words in the lectures and conversations in the listening section. And you will come across them in the writing and speaking sections. Test yourself. Do you know words like supercilious, exacerbate, ubiquitous, myriad, and zealous? If some of them are unfamiliar to you, you should work on expanding your advanced and academic vocabulary. We've prepared a free PDF file with the top 100 words for TOEFL that you need. These words will help you improve your score in every section. You can find the link to the PDF in the description below. Now, when it comes to learning new words, another important aspect that can prevent you from getting the score you want, especially in the writing and speaking sections, is the way you use these words. Some students simply learn a list of advanced or so-called fancy words and try to use them everywhere. They think that the more sophisticated vocabulary they can cram into their spoken and written answers, the better. However, this will not help you improve your score and may even lower it. Think about this sentence. Having diligently engaged in rigorous intellectual pursuits, he assiduously devoted himself to the arduous task of assimilating copious amounts of knowledge pertinent to the impending examination, thereby fostering a profound sense of self-assurance in his cognitive faculties. Does that sound natural? I don't think so. It would be much simpler and more natural to just say he studied hard for the test and felt confident in his preparation. Or he crammed for the test and felt confident in his preparation. So, to speak and write effectively, you should not only know advanced words, but also use them well. In this video, we'll discuss 10 advanced words and phrases you must know to succeed on the TOEFL test. If your TOEFL test is approaching and you feel you need more guidance and feedback, you can also take our TOEFL preparation course and learn everything you need to know about the test in just a few days. The promo code link is in the description below. Without further ado, let's get started. The first word on our vocabulary list is adversely, which means in a negative or harmful way. We often use it with the verb to affect. To adversely affect means to influence something negatively. For example, if you were talking about eating breakfast for question 1 of the speaking section, you might say, skipping breakfast can adversely affect your energy level for the rest of the day. We can also use it in a more formal context. Let's say business. In the writing section, you might write something like, the economic downturn has adversely affected the company's profits, resulting in layoffs. The reason I like this collocation is that it's very universal, so you can use it for many topics. Lots of things can be adversely affected. Word number 2 is foster. To foster something is to encourage its development. I can foster innovation, creativity, a sense of community, a positive environment, growth, or collaboration. For example, the school wants to foster creativity among its students. This means that the school supports and encourages creativity and wants its students to be more creative. Talking about work, I might say, we should foster cooperation among employees, not competition. The next word is also one of my favorites. It's implement. When we implement something, we put it into practice. In other words, we adopt it or start using it. Some typical collocations with this verb are: implement a new strategy, implement changes, implement policies, plans, or recommendations. In the reading section, you might see a sentence like this: it's important to implement safety measures to protect workers. This means that we should introduce safety measures to protect workers. Word number 4 is ubiquitous. A thing that is ubiquitous is everywhere. When you think of Venice, you immediately think of crowds of tourists everywhere. Well, you can call them ubiquitous. Ubiquitous tourists in Venice. We can say ubiquitous presence, ubiquitous use, ubiquitous technology. You could start your entry for the writing for an academic discussion assignment with this sentence: smartphones have become ubiquitous in modern society. They are ubiquitous. They are everywhere, or the ubiquitous presence of the internet has changed the way we access information. Next is the verb thrive. It means to grow, develop, or be successful. What can thrive? Businesses, industries, plants, and cultures can thrive. This means that they are successful and can grow. In the lecture about plants, you could hear such a sentence: some plants thrive in direct sunlight, while others prefer shade. We can also say, your business began to thrive after you implemented new marketing strategies. 6. Indispensable, meaning absolutely necessary. When something is indispensable, it's so good or important that you can't do without it. A person can also be indispensable. This means that you can't do anything without him or her. Typical collocations: an indispensable tool, an indispensable member, an indispensable companion, the one I cannot do without. The most common collocation, in my opinion, is an indispensable part of something. If you're writing an essay, you often want to write that something is, was, or has become very important. You can use this collocation instead. Let's look at the sentence. AI has become important to people. Is it clear? Yes, it is. Is it advanced? Not really. Well, let's change that. AI has become an indispensable part of most people's lives. The new sentence sounds much better. This is actually one of the exercises I like to do with my students. I would usually come up with a bunch of simple sentences or take some examples from their essays. Then I would ask them to paraphrase those sentences using some of the new words we've learned. I highly recommend that you do the same. Using the new word as much as possible will help you become more familiar with it and use it more confidently in your writing and speaking. 7. Affluent. Affluent means having a lot of money or many valuable things. Someone who is affluent is rich or wealthy. We can say an affluent neighborhood, an affluent family, or an affluent lifestyle. In question 1 of the speaking section, you often have to answer a question in 45 seconds. In this time, you usually have to give some examples to support your answer. You might say, I remember my friend used to live in an affluent neighborhood. 8. Alleviate, which means to make something bad, such as pain or problems, less severe. What can we alleviate? As I said, it has to be something bad. So, we can alleviate pain, alleviate suffering, alleviate stress, alleviate symptoms, or anxiety. The medication helped alleviate the patient's chronic pain. Listening to music can alleviate stress and improve mood. 9. Lucrative. Something that is lucrative usually makes a lot of money or a large profit. What can be lucrative? Business, job, career, offer, contract, deal. If your business is lucrative, it's very profitable. Investing in real estate can be a lucrative business if done wisely. She left her job to pursue a more lucrative career in finance. This is the word you'll see most often on the TOEFL reading and listening sections. Finally, the last word on our list is the one we had at the beginning of the video: resurgence. It's a new increase in activity or interest in a particular subject that has been forgotten for some time. Let's say an actor or singer was very popular for a while, but years went by and everyone forgot about them. Then, when they come back with a new movie or song, we witness the resurgence of their career. That's what happened with Miley Cyrus, for example. We saw her resurgence with the hit song Flowers. So the correct answer to this question is B, comeback. Let me know in the comments if you got it right. So, these are the 10 advanced words you need to know to succeed on the TOEFL test. For more words like these, click on the link in the description below to get our free PDF with the top 100 academic words. If I were asked, what's the most important thing you can do to succeed on the TOEFL? I'd definitely say it's to expand your vocabulary. The more words you know, the easier it will be for you to do well on each section of the test. In the reading and listening sections, knowing more words will help you understand better, which will give you a chance to answer more questions correctly. A large vocabulary will also help you speak more fluently in the speaking section. You won't have to pause to decide which word to use. You'll also be able to get more detail from the text and audio materials for the integrated speaking questions. Finally, I think you'll agree that knowing specialized and advanced vocabulary will also help you in the writing section. Now, the next question is, what words should I learn? Number 1, campus vocabulary. Many lectures and conversations in both listening and speaking sections deal with the situations that may occur on campus. So, knowing words like academic advisor, prerequisites, dorms, roommate, bunk bed, transcripts, A students, transfer, and elective courses is a must. 2, academic vocabulary. These are words that appear frequently in academic texts. You'll encounter them in the writing and reading sections, and they also appear frequently in the speaking and listening sections of the test. For example, individual, research, consistent, area, regulations, perceived, emphasis, undertake, and so on. By the way, we have created a free PDF with the top 100 words for the TOEFL test you need. So feel free to check it out by clicking the link in the description below. 3. Idiomatic vocabulary. Anything idiomatic refers to expressions that cannot be understood by their literal meaning. A common misconception that many students have is that idiomatic vocabulary is all about using idioms. The truth is that it's highly unlikely that you'll need many idioms on the day of the test. In fact, if your English is idiomatic, it means that you use expressions that are natural and correct. Idiomatic vocabulary really helps in the speaking section. It allows you to convey the same message in a shorter and more natural way. For example, what's the word we use to describe something that really annoys us? We use the word pet peeve. Smoking is one of my pet peeves. I hate it when people smoke around me. Another example is a soft-spoken person. That's the person who has a quiet or gentle voice. Some people have a loud voice, some people have a soft voice. And these people are soft-spoken. Now, the last and most important category is advanced vocabulary. Do you know such words as occur, accumulate, collide, copious, divert, frivolous, and hindrance? All of them are examples of advanced vocabulary. Advanced vocabulary is a game changer on the TOEFL and pretty much every other language test out there. It's extremely helpful in every section of the test. In fact, studying advanced vocabulary is the fastest way to improve your TOEFL score. And that's the kind of vocabulary we'll be working on in today's lesson. In this video, we'll discuss 20 advanced words you must know to succeed on the TOEFL test. If your TOEFL test is approaching and you feel you need more guidance and feedback, you can also take our TOEFL preparation course and have your speaking and writing skills evaluated. The promo code link is in the description below. If you are a textbook kind of person, check out our brand new Mastering the TOEFL Test Prep book. It's a comprehensive guide to the test that'll teach you everything you need to know about the TOEFL test in just a few days. Without further ado, let's get started. I suggest we play a game. As you watch this lesson, pause the video every time you see a new word and try to guess its meaning. Put a plus next to the words you got right and a minus next to the words you got wrong. Then count how many of the words you know. If you got them all, write winner in the comments. Otherwise, tell me how many words you got right. The first word is condescending. Listen carefully. Condescending. The Latin prefix con means with, and the Latin word for descend means down. So when someone is described as condescending, it means that they act in a way that makes others feel inferior or looked down upon. For example, imagine a teacher who talks to students as if they're not very smart or important. That's a condescending attitude, and it can make people feel small or unappreciated. So when you're condescending, you're looking down on someone. Let's do a little test. In the reading section, you might get a vocabulary question that looks like this. The manager's condescending tone made the new employees feel unwelcome and discouraged. The word condescending in the sentence is closest in meaning to A. Deplorable, B. Deceptive, C. Haughty, and D. Blessed. The correct answer is C. Haughty. Write it down. Condescending, haughty, arrogant. They're all synonyms. Now, let's talk about the verb to obtain. To obtain means to get something that is not so easy to have. You can obtain knowledge, information, permission, a license, a document, or a loan. You wouldn't say you obtained a pair of socks unless they were unique. So, it's a verb we use in formal contexts. A small test. To obtain knowledge on the subject, researchers conducted extensive experiments and analyzed the resulting data. The word obtain in this sentence is closest in meaning to A. Get, B. Accord, C. Astonish, D. Depend. A is correct. Next is emerge. When something emerges, it means it comes into view or becomes known. Think of a talented musician emerging on the music scene. After years of hard work, their talent finally emerges for all to see. When I think of the word emerge, I immediately think of emerging technologies. All these new types of technologies that are popping up or appearing all the time. Give me some examples of your favorite emerging technologies in the comments. Time for a test. Obviously, C is correct. Appear is the closest synonym for emerge. Now, let's delve into transcendence. This is a fancy word that means going beyond ordinary limits or surpassing expectations. Picture a breathtaking painting or a mesmerizing piece of music that takes you to another world. That's the kind of transcendence we're talking about, where something becomes so extraordinary that it surpasses everything else. Remember the movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp? It's a sci-fi film exploring artificial intelligence. In the movie, Johnny Depp's character, Dr. Will Castor, uploads his consciousness into a computer, which makes him extremely powerful. So we see how he transcends or surpasses human limitations, blurring the line between man and machine. Moving on. Word number 5 is crucial. When something is crucial, it's extremely important or necessary for success. Just like getting enough sleep is crucial to maintaining good health, or studying is crucial to doing well on your exams. How would you answer this question? A is correct. Crucial and essential are two words we use when something is very important. You will see them a lot on the TOEFL reading section, so make sure you have them on your list. Advantageous is our next word. When something is advantageous, it means it's beneficial or helpful. For example, learning a second language can be advantageous for finding job opportunities, making new friends, and experiencing different cultures. I can use it in the writing section. For example, living close to work can be advantageous because it saves time and money on commuting. We'll stop with the tests here, since you pretty much have an idea of what vocabulary questions look like on the TOEFL. However, let me know in the comments if you like the idea of tests. Now, let's talk about the word frivolous. When something is frivolous, it means it's not serious or important. It lacks seriousness. Buying expensive things you don't need instead of saving money for important things like education or emergencies is an example of frivolous spending. If someone is frivolous, they shouldn't be taken seriously because they're always fooling around and never getting anything done. Frivolous is practically the opposite of essential. Spending money on frivolous luxuries instead of saving for the future can lead to financial problems. Our next word is terrestrial. This is one of my favorite words because very few of my students know it. So I like to include it in the matching assignments I create. Terrestrial simply means related to the Earth or its inhabitants. So if it's terrestrial, you'll find it on Earth. If it's extraterrestrial, you'll find it coming from a UFO. We humans are terrestrial creatures, which means we live and thrive on this planet and depend on its resources for our survival. If you don't know the word thrive, you can watch this video where we discussed more advanced vocabulary necessary to ace the TOEFL test. In TOEFL reading, you'll often see texts about terrestrial animals. Terrestrial animals are mammals, birds, and reptiles that live on land. Moving on to mandatory. When something is mandatory, it means it's required by rule or law. It's obligatory. Wearing a seat belt is mandatory for all passengers in a car to ensure everyone's safety. I hear this word a lot in conversations on both the speaking and listening sections of the test. You'll see something like this. It's mandatory for students to attend classes regularly to maintain their enrollment status. Some nice synonyms are compulsory and obligatory. Just recently, I saw the word compulsory on one of the reading tests, so make sure you have it on your list. 10. Outer. This word refers to something that is outside, external. For example, astronauts wear spacesuits to protect themselves from the harsh conditions of outer space. Escalate is our next word. When you see this word, think of an escalator that takes you quickly to the next floor. This word usually has a negative connotation, so it's usually something bad that escalates. For example, prices or conflicts can escalate. Imagine a disagreement between friends that escalates into a heated argument. That's when things get more intense and serious. Example sentence: the conflict between the two companies began to escalate, raising concerns about the possibility of cooperation. 12. Plummet. The verb plummet means to fall sharply, like eagles that plummet toward the earth in search of prey, or school attendance that plummets when there is a flu outbreak. For example, the stock market may plummet after bad news about the company's financial situation is announced. Example sentence: temperatures plummet overnight, causing icy conditions on the roads. Now let's talk about the word adolescent. Simply put, this is just a fancy word for teenager or teen. Someone who is no longer a child, but not yet an adult. Sample sentence: she doesn't understand the emotional problems of adolescence. Let's keep going. What about futile? When something is futile, it means it's incapable of producing a useful result. It's pointless. Trying to change someone's mind when they are set in their decision can feel futile, because they are unlikely to budge. You can say, it's futile to argue with him. When he is in a bad mood, he won't listen to reason. Again, this is a very common word in the TOEFL reading section. Be prepared to see it a lot. Moving on to impact. This word can be used as either a verb, to impact, or a noun, impact. It refers to the effect or influence of one thing on another. For example, the construction of a new road could have a positive impact on the local economy by creating jobs. Note that when this word is a noun, it's followed by the preposition on. Have a positive impact on the local economy. But as a verb, it doesn't need a preposition. Hearing aids may be able to impact mental health positively. This is one of the synonyms for the verbs to influence and to affect. Indispensable is next. When something is indispensable, it means it's absolutely necessary, essential, something you can't do without. Water, for example, is indispensable to human survival. We can't live without it. Let's review. Crucial, essential, indispensable. All these words mean something is very important. In the writing section, you can include such a sentence in your essay. Good communication skills are indispensable for success in both personal and professional life. Now, let's talk about the word supercilious. Listen carefully. Supercilious. What do you think this word means? It's used to describe someone who acts or looks like they think they're superior to others. Imagine a person who always acts like he or she is better than everyone else. That's a supercilious attitude. Her supercilious attitude made it difficult for her to make friends. A quick vocabulary test for this word. Be careful when answering. Well, they're all right. That was a trap. If you watch the lesson carefully, you remember that a condescending person, like a supercilious person, is someone who acts or behaves as if they are superior to others. Haughty and arrogant are the other two synonyms. So, congratulations! We've learned so many advanced and useful words for the TOEFL test, and only a few remain on our list. 18. Illiterate. This word describes someone who cannot read or write. Unfortunately, there are still many illiterate adults in the world who struggle to access basic information and opportunities. Now, someone who is literate can read or write. Literate, illiterate. 19. Scarcity. This word refers to a lack of something, a shortage. For example, scarcity of food and water can lead to famine and drought in certain regions of the world. If there is a cupcake scarcity in your kitchen, there are very few cupcakes around, and you're not sure if any are coming anytime soon. The two most common synonyms are shortage and lack. The most common collocation is scarcity of resources. For example, in the TOEFL reading texts, you might see a sentence like this: scarcity of resources in the desert region forced nomadic tribes to migrate in search of water. Finally, number 20 is deteriorate. Deteriorate. This is another super popular word for the TOEFL test, and you see it practically everywhere. When something deteriorates, it means it gets worse over time. For example, if you don't take care of your things, like a bicycle or a toy, they can deteriorate and break down. So deteriorate basically means that things go from good to bad over time. There is a similar word starting with a D. Let's see if you can spot it. And the right answer is B. Decay. Deteriorate, decay, get worse are all synonymous. Today, we're going to play a little game to cover 15 advanced words in English that you need to know to ace the TOEFL, and to consider yourself an advanced language user. If you're currently preparing for the TOEFL and need someone to evaluate your writing and speaking, sign up for our TOEFL course and schedule a consultation with me. I'll tell you how well you'll do on the writing and speaking if you take the test tomorrow and what you should do differently to get a better score. The link is down below. First, let's review the rules of the game. They're very simple. You're going to see sentences with a word highlighted in each, and you have to guess the meaning of the highlighted word and choose one of the 4 options that matches the meaning. A quick note for future TOEFL takers. This is how the vocabulary question on the reading section looks. Remember, you don't have to understand everything, just the meaning of the word or phrase. Without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. The teacher chose the groups arbitrarily, without considering the students' preferences. The word arbitrarily is closest in meaning to A. randomly, B. cautiously, C. gleefully, and D. firmly. You have 5 seconds to think about your answer. And the correct answer is A. randomly. Arbitrarily means in a random manner. TOEFL creators just love it, so expect to see this word often on the test. Something said or done arbitrarily is done randomly or without much thought. Like when you arbitrarily eat whatever happens to be on the buffet table at your cousin's wedding. If you go to a movie and don't know what's playing, you might arbitrarily choose one based on the titles or the look of the posters. 2. The beauty of the sunset was so transcendent that it left everyone speechless. The word transcendent is closest in meaning to A. doleful, B. divine, C. meticulous, D. confined. You have 5 seconds to think it over. B is correct. Transcendent describes something so excellent that is beyond the range of human understanding. Transcendent shares the prefix trans, meaning across, with many familiar words such as transport, carry across, transcontinental, across a continent, and transparent, allowing light to shine across. So something transcendent goes across boring reality. It moves you, In this context, the closest word in meaning is divine. 3. Carrying all those bags up the stairs was a cumbersome task. The word cumbersome is closest in meaning to A. Doleful, B. Efficient, C. Inconvenient, and D. Transparent. C is correct. Cumbersome is something that's difficult to handle or use, especially because of size or weight, like a cumbersome piece of machinery. The word itself is kind of cumbersome, which means it's long and clumsy. Carrying all the bags up the stairs is cumbersome, so the right answer is inconvenient. By the way, we've seen the word doleful a couple of times in your answer options. For those who don't know it, doleful means sad or mournful. You can give someone a doleful look. You might be asking yourself now, why do I need to know all these words? Will I ever use them? Well, the answer is yes. If you're an advanced English speaker, you will use these words from time to time in your speech. You will also hear them in podcasts, videos, and movies all the time. The same applies to the TOEFL test. Knowing these words is a must, because the more extensive your vocabulary is, the easier it is for you to get your target score. An important thing to remember, though, is that limited vocabulary is not the only thing that can prevent you from getting the score you want. For example, I often see students who struggle with the reading section of the test, even though they can understand almost everything in the passage. This usually happens because 1, they don't know the strategies for each type of question, or 2, they don't know how to apply them effectively. That's why in our TOEFL course, we have a special module where we go through the reading section of the test together and see how the strategies we discuss should be used on the real test. 4. The incessant rain made it impossible to go outside without an umbrella. The word incessant is closest in meaning to A. Sporadic, B. Unceasing, C. Isolated, and D. Fleeting. And the right answer is B. Unceasing. Something incessant continues without interruption and is usually unpleasant. When you're on a cross-country flight, it's tough to tolerate the incessant crying of a baby. Now, fleeting, in contrast, is something that lasts for a very short time. Sporadic is something occurring occasionally. So A, C, and D are definitely incorrect. 5. His ambiguous response left us unsure of his intentions. The word ambiguous is closest in meaning to A. Clear, B. Vague, C. Precise, and D. Definitive. B is again correct. Ambiguous describes something that's open to more than one interpretation. An ambiguous sentence or situation drives us in 2 different directions at once. The stress is on the second syllable, big, which you can remember since something that's ambiguous can lead to big misunderstandings. When you buy a washing machine and want to assemble it, you may be frustrated by ambiguous instructions. They are not precise, not clear, and not definitive, which is why options A, C, and D are incorrect. For those of you who struggle with advanced vocabulary, we've prepared a free PDF with 100 academic words you need to know to ace the TOEFL test. These are the words you'll see all the time on the TOEFL exam, and knowing them will help you a lot. Feel free to download the PDF using the link below. 6. The garden was filled with abundant flowers of every color imaginable. The word abundant is closest in meaning to A. Scarce, B. Copious, C. Rare, D. Meticulous. Abundant means present in great quantity. So if the garden was filled with abundant flowers, it means there were a lot of them. So B is again correct. Remember to use abundant to describe something that exists in large amounts. For example, on Halloween, you can find candy in abundant supply. Scarce is the opposite of abundant. It's something found in short supply. 7. The adjacent room was also completely empty. The word adjacent is closest in meaning to A. Remote, B. Distant, C. Next door, D. Separate. C is correct. Adjacent means close to or near something. You may consider the people up and down your street to be neighbors, but your next door neighbor is the person who lives in the house or apartment adjacent to yours. If the two rooms are adjacent, they share a common wall. 8. He tried to coerce his friend into helping him with his homework. The word coerce is closest in meaning to A. Rumple, B. Persuade, C. Observe, and D. Pressure. The right answer is D. To coerce is to persuade, usually an unwilling person, to do something by using force or threats. It's not the same as persuade, though. Persuasion requires understanding. Coercion requires only power. 9. The metal gate had begun to corrode after years of exposure to the rain. The word corrode is closest in meaning to A. Erode, B. Coexist, C. Secrete, D. Garnish. A is correct. Corrode is a verb that usually describes destroying a metal by oxidation or by some other kind of chemical action. The word corrode can also be used figuratively. For example, bad influence can corrode the minds of young people. 10. Lack of funding proved to be a hindrance to the completion of the project. The word hindrance is closest in meaning to A. Prodigy, B. Obstacle, C. Facilitator, D. Catalyst. A hindrance is something in the way, an obstacle. So option B is the right answer. An untied shoelace is a hindrance to walking. You might hear the phrase more of a hindrance than help. It means that something intended to be a positive force has the opposite effect. 11. They found a way to circumvent the traffic by taking back roads. The word circumvent is closest in meaning to A. Avoid, B. Size up, C. Embrace, D. Take stock. To circumvent is to avoid or find a way around an obstacle. If you come to an obstruction in a road, you can seek to circumvent it. To circumvent can also mean to overcome, usually a problem or a difficulty, in a clear and surreptitious way. For example, the criminal found it quite easy to circumvent security. 12. The company's robust financial performance impressed investors. The word robust is closest in meaning to A. Fragile, B. Infamous, C. Feeble, D. Strong. Option D is correct. We can use robust to describe a person or thing that is healthy and strong, or strongly built. It also commonly describes food or drink. A robust wine has a rich, strong flavor. If you have a robust speaking voice, it means you have a voice that's deep and loud and strong. So, robust is definitely not feeble or fragile. 13. The two exchanged words before a police officer intervened. The word intervene is closest in meaning to A. Intercept, B. interfere, C. abstain, D. invalidate. B is again correct. The verb intervene means to get involved, to jump in the middle of something, to interfere. So before the police officer could interfere, the two people already exchanged words. 14. The singer received critical acclaim for her debut album. The word acclaim is closest in meaning to A. praise, B. criticism, C. denounce, D. condemn. The right answer is A. praise. Acclaim, as a noun, means enthusiastic and public praise. 15. The food at the restaurant was mediocre. The word mediocre is closest in meaning to A. exceptional, B. superior, C. barely adequate, D. concealed. C is correct. Mediocre is an adjective that means barely adequate or of average quality. It has a negative connotation. So, mediocre food means average food, nothing special. Doing well on the TOEFL isn't just about knowing grammar or having a big vocabulary. It's about making your answers sound like something a native speaker would say. And one way to do that is to use linking words effectively. So, today I decided to talk to you about this. We're going to see how using linking words can make a difference in the TOEFL speaking section, and discuss 16 of the most important linking words you can use. Stick around as we dive into this important skill to help you achieve your dream score. Let's get started. The first question is, what are linking words? Linking words are words or phrases that act as bridges between sentences or paragraphs. For example, and, but, so, on top of that, even if, unless, and so on. They help connect ideas smoothly and make your writing or speaking easier to understand. Adding them to your answers makes them sound less robotic. In fact, effective use of linking words improves the coherence and fluidity of the answer, making it sound more natural and easier to understand. As we just discussed, a clear and natural answer is the key to a high score. There are 3 typical mistakes TOEFL students make with linking words, and I want you to discover them for yourself. Take a look at this question. It's a typical one you might get in the first part of the TOEFL speaking section. You have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to speak. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? If you want to succeed in business, being outgoing and friendly is very important. Now listen to my first answer and tell me what you think. I agree with the statement that being outgoing and friendly is important for success in business. It helps in building rapport with clients, colleagues, and customers. This can lead to better negotiations and opportunities. My boss is a very sociable person. He makes business connections easily. This has allowed him to expand his business and find many business partners. Being outgoing and friendly creates a positive work environment and makes networking easier. We always have a friendly environment at work. We know we can trust each other. As you can see, the first mistake is to avoid connecting words altogether. Not only does it make your answers sound robotic and strained, but it also does not allow you to elaborate on your ideas. Use complex and compound sentences and connect your ideas logically. You'd be surprised, but in my one-on-one sessions, I often see advanced students who are so stressed about staying on time that they forget even the most basic linking words, such as also, but, and so. If you feel you need extra help, you can check out our brand new Mastering the IELTS Test prep book. It's a comprehensive guide to the test that will teach you everything you need to know about the IELTS test in just a few days. The link is in the description below. Answer 2. In my opinion, I strongly agree with the statement that being outgoing and friendly is crucial for success in business, as effective communication and relationship building are fundamental pillars in the realm of business. First and foremost, being outgoing and friendly promotes positive interactions with clients, customers, and colleagues. Furthermore, a friendly disposition contributes to a conducive work environment. In addition, such individuals are adept at diffusing tensions and resolving conflicts amicably, thus fostering a harmonious workplace culture. However, it is important to recognize that success in business requires a multifaceted approach. I won't go any further because I think you can see my second point. Mistake number 2, using formal linking words. The thing is, if you go online and search for linking word lists, you will see both formal and informal linking words mixed together. This is why many students use words like moreover, nevertheless, and to exemplify in their answers, thinking it will increase their score. But it won't. Native speakers don't converse this way. So save these formal alternatives for the writing section and focus instead on the linking words used in spoken English. The same answer also sheds light on the third mistake: using linking words incorrectly. Some students try to use as many of them as possible. They literally start every single sentence with a linking word. Others simply use them incorrectly. Either way, the result is often that their answers sound forced and unnatural. And remember, sounding natural is the most important thing to focus on. So, make sure you sprinkle your answers with 2 to 3 informal linking words instead of stuffing them with tons of formal ones. This will not only help you sound natural in the first question of the speaking section, but it will also help you express your ideas well on the second, third, and fourth tasks of the test. For example, by starting your sentences with while, even if, unless, even though, you can create complex sentences that will allow you to convey the same message more quickly and give you enough time to include many details from the recording. Now that we're getting to the linking words themselves, your mini assignment is to watch the lesson carefully and write down the ones you find most useful. You don't have to learn and use them all. Just pick 3 to 5 linking words you feel comfortable using in your answers. Then, answer this question using the linking words you learned. Feel free to share your responses in the comments below. And remember that simply adding linking words to your answers isn't enough to get a high score. There are a number of other important factors to consider. If you're about to take the test and want to find out what you're doing wrong and how you can score higher, enroll in our TOEFL prep course and have your speaking and writing responses evaluated. The promo code link is below. Let's begin. The first 5 linking words that you definitely know are first, second, also, but, and so. I don't need to explain how to use them, but I want to emphasize that even though they're very basic, I still highly recommend using them in your answers. For example, you can say, I agree that being outgoing and friendly is the key to success in business. First, when you're friendly, it's easier to connect with people like clients and colleagues, which helps build trust and can lead to more opportunities. Successful entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs are often known for their exceptional ability to communicate and build relationships. Also, a friendly atmosphere at work promotes teamwork and makes everyone happier. Getting back to the Steve Jobs example, his charismatic charm allowed him to connect with people on a personal level, which helped him inspire and motivate his team by fostering a sense of loyalty and commitment among employees. So yes, being outgoing and friendly is a big deal in business. As you can see, using even such basic transitions as first, also, and so can help you build an effective response. Let's look at some more linking words. For example, to illustrate. To give examples, use for example or to illustrate. I could have said, for example, successful entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs are often known for their exceptional ability to communicate and build relationships. You can also just use the linking words like or such as I did in my example. Successful entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, or successful entrepreneurs such as Steve Jobs. The next few linking words are unless, even if, while, and even though. I find them especially useful in the integrated speaking section, Imagine you have to summarize a lecture in 60 seconds. You should include a lot of details. But as you go, you feel like you're running out of time. A great solution is to introduce complex, compound, and complex compound sentences. This will help you say the same thing in a much shorter way. Let's look at a few examples, taken from answers to integrated speaking questions. Even though children may not know how to behave at first, they soon learn that bad behavior is punished and good behavior is rewarded. Number 2. Also, the buses only run once an hour, which means that even if the bus service is introduced, it won't be as effective as riding a bicycle because students will end up wasting too much time waiting for the next bus. Number 3. So, unless a car works the way it's supposed to and lasts a long time without breaking down, it's considered unreliable. Number 4. While the health center does need more doctors, it's tiny and there is simply not enough space to accommodate them. If you want to explain the reason or cause for something, you can use "that's why" and "as a result." For example, I've been making an effort to prioritize sleep. That's why I feel more refreshed and focused during the day. Or, as a result, I struggled to keep up with my coursework and ended up turning in many assignments at the last minute. Finally, to add another point, you can simply use "also" or use "on top of that." I already have a lot on my plate with work, school, and family responsibilities to take care of. On top of that, I have to deal with stress of planning my sister's wedding, which is adding even more pressure. Using linking words effectively can significantly improve your score on the writing section of the TOEFL test. Not only does it allow you to use a variety of sentence structures, it also helps you demonstrate consistent language skills and explain your ideas well. But do you need to learn a lot of connectors? Not really. In fact, for both the integrated essay and the writing for an academic discussion task, you only need a limited number of connectors for a perfect score. What's more, if you use too many of them, or use ones that are too formal, such as nevertheless, furthermore, to exemplify, you could lose points because it won't sound natural. So, my first tip: only use the linking words you're 100% sure of. If you don't think you can use that linking word in a natural and effective way, it's better to avoid it. What are the 18 linking words you really need to ace the writing section of the TOEFL test? In this lesson, we're going to discuss 18 essential linking words for acing the TOEFL writing section. If your TOEFL exam is coming up and you need a guide to help you successfully prepare for it, check out our TOEFL prep book. There, you'll learn everything you need to know to succeed on the TOEFL exam, presented in a clear, easy to understand, and fun way. You'll understand the 4 sections of the test, master all the types of questions in the reading section, and learn how to tackle them. Find out how to sharpen your listening skills, ace the writing section, and develop speaking fluency. We've also added an extra chapter to review the necessary grammar and vocabulary that will help you with both the writing and speaking sections, and another with test day tips and strategies. The promo code link is in the description below. Now, what are linking words? These are words or phrases that act as bridges between sentences or paragraphs. For example, and, but, so, unless, even if, and so on. They help connect ideas smoothly and make your writing or speaking easier to understand. As I just mentioned, you don't have to force linking words into your sentences. However, if you do use one, make sure you add the word you know well. And that was just the first example of a perfect linking word for the writing section. So, number 1 is however. It means even so or on the other hand, and is often used to introduce a complication, contrast, or contradiction. You can start a sentence with however, as I did, or you can use it to create compound sentences by connecting 2 contrasting ideas. For example, he studied hard. However, he failed the exam. The movie got rave reviews. However, I found it disappointing. Another example. However, it's important to recognize the challenges associated with integrating technology into education. I love to use this linking word in integrated essays because it's so good and universal and allows you to contrast the reading passage and the lecture. When you include the lecturer's opinion, you can write, "The lecturer, however, disagrees and says that." For example, intelligence has nothing to do with star navigation. If I'm writing a post about the negative aspects of smartphones, I might write something like this. In today's fast-paced society, technological advances have revolutionized various aspects of human life, increasing convenience and connectivity. Smartphones, for example, have become ubiquitous tools for communication and access to information. However, while these innovations offer numerous benefits, they also present challenges that society must address. For those who don't know, the word ubiquitous means everywhere. As you can see, the use of however in this paragraph helps to move the discussion from the positive aspects of smartphones to the potential drawbacks, creating a balanced and nuanced argument. You can also see that we use "for example" in this post, which brings us to the next two words, "for example" and "for instance." We use these words to give examples. Many students try to replace these linkers with less common alternatives, such as "to exemplify," "to illustrate," "namely," and so on. I wouldn't recommend this. First, you might use them incorrectly and lose points. Second, they're a bit too formal for the kind of writing we do on the TOEFL test. You can start a sentence with "for example" or "for instance," or use them in the middle of a sentence. Many countries have begun to address the problem of pollution. For example, Singapore has implemented strict regulations and promoted public transportation, or many countries have introduced strict regulations to reduce air pollution. For instance, China has imposed limits on industrial emissions and promoted the use of electric vehicles. We can also use the linking words "like" or "such as" to give examples. Through platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, people can keep in touch with friends and family, share updates about their lives, and engage in meaningful conversations. Let's look at another example from one of the integrated essays. Most of these materials, such as building materials, sand, stones, and even construction tools, are not what you would expect from ceremonies. If you want to add information that supports what you've already said, use "moreover" or "in addition." For example, let's say I'm discussing the benefits of technology in education. As I write about it, I can use "moreover" or "in addition" to add new points. Online courses and educational platforms give students from all backgrounds access to high-quality learning materials and instruction. In addition, digital resources such as ebooks, educational applications, and online tutorials provide supplemental support for students, allowing them to deepen their understanding of complex concepts at their own pace. Or, in addition, technology has transformed the classroom environment, making learning more interactive and engaging. I could go on and on about the benefits and add, moreover, technology has empowered educators to personalize learning experiences to meet the needs of individual students. Another thing we often need when writing is to show the result or consequence of something. In this case, you can use "as a result" and "therefore." The reason I love them is that they are versatile and can be used in a variety of contexts to show causality or logical consequence. The company implemented cost-cutting measures, and as a result, several employees were laid off. Learning to do household chores prepares young people for their future lives as adults. Therefore, those who were taught to do housework as children will find it easier to transition to independent life when they start living on their own. The next few words are although, while, and even though. These subordinate conjunctions allow us to create complex sentences that are so helpful in the writing section, especially when you need to say a lot of things in a short and concise way. We use these conjunctions to introduce a subordinate clause that contains a statement that contrasts with the main clause statement. My absolute favorite of these three is while, because it's so universal and easy to use in both writing and speaking. Let's look at some examples. An example from an integrated essay. While the reading argues that humpback whales navigate by the stars, the lecturer finds this theory unconvincing. Here, we have while at the beginning of the sentence. We can also put it in the middle of the sentence. The reading argues that humpback whales navigate by the stars, while the lecturer finds this theory unconvincing. A few more examples. Even though she was exhausted, she stayed up late to finish her project. Although he had prepared well for the presentation, he felt nervous when he got up in front of the audience. Although some argue that young people should live with their families as long as possible, I believe that it's more beneficial for them to live independently. The other two linking words we can use to introduce contrasting or opposing ideas are in contrast and on the other hand. I often use them in the integrated essay, where you have to contrast the lecture with the text. You can always write, on the other hand, the lecturer states that, or in contrast, the lecturer's position is that, and give their opinion. Last but not least are the linking words but, so, also, and. Even though you know them well and think they're too basic, I'd say they're the most important linking words out there, so don't forget to use them in your essays. For example, she wanted to travel abroad, but she couldn't afford the plane tickets, so she was forced to stay at home. These were the words, phrases, and linking words you should know to ace the TOEFL test. Thanks for watching. Now it's time to calculate your results. Write winner in the comments below if all the words were familiar. Or let me know which of the words we covered were new for you. If you are currently preparing for the test and want to check how ready you are, click on the link below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips and tricks. Good luck to you all. Bye-bye.